something feels completely different about Raising Kanan Season 5. And no, I'm not just talking about the trailer finally dropping. I'm talking about the energy, the tension, the feeling that this story is about to cross a line it can never come back from. Because after that Season 4 finale, there's no way things can ever return to normal between Kanan and Rack again. That gunshot changed everything. And now this first look at Season 5 is giving us some terrifying clues about what happens next. The craziest part is that the trailer barely even shows much directly, but somehow it still feels darker than anything we've seen from this show before. Every conversation feels tense. Every character looks paranoid. And Kanan? Yeah. Kanan doesn't even look like the same person anymore. You can literally feel the transformation happening in front of our eyes. The version of him we knew in earlier seasons is slowly disappearing, and the trailer makes it very clear that Season 5 might finally be the moment where Kanan Stark is truly born. But honestly, I think the biggest thing everybody's overlooking right now is Rack herself. Because after everything that happened, after all the lies, manipulation, betrayals, and that final confrontation, Rack suddenly looks more vulnerable than we've ever seen her before. And that's exactly why I think Season 5 could become the most dangerous chapter in the entire Raising Kanan. So let's break everything down because this trailer gave us way more clues than people realize. Right from the opening moments, the atmosphere already feels heavy. The streets look colder, the conversations feel more aggressive, and everybody seems like they're preparing for war. One thing Raising Kanan has always done better than most shows is showing how paranoia slowly destroys people from the inside. And Season 5 looks like it's taking that idea to a completely different level. Especially with Kanan. Throughout the trailer, he barely even speaks compared to earlier seasons. And honestly, that silence says more than words ever could. Old Kanan used to react emotionally whenever somebody betrayed him or made him angry. But now, he looks calm, cold, calculated. And if you know the original Power series, then you already understand how dangerous that really is. Because the older Kanan Stark we met in Power wasn't reckless. He was patient. He studied people. He waited for the perfect moment to strike. And I honestly think this trailer is showing us the exact beginning of that transformation. You can tell something inside him completely broke after the finale. Whether Rack survived that gunshot or not, Kanan crossed a mental line he can never uncross again. Even if he didn't pull the trigger himself, the fact that he was willing to point a gun at his own mother already tells us how far gone. But then we need to talk about Rack because wow, this trailer might have quietly confirmed that she's losing control of everything around her. For 4 seasons, Rack has always been the person controlling the board. Even when things went wrong, she still had backup plans. She still had power. But Season 5 feels different. The trailer constantly shows her looking isolated, stressed, and honestly exhausted. It's almost like the empire she spent years building is finally collapsing around her piece by piece. And when you really think about it, that actually makes perfect sense after Season 4. Her relationship with Lulu was already damaged beyond repair. Marvin has his own problems. Unique is becoming unpredictable again. The streets are changing. And now Kanan, the one person she always believed she could protect, has completely turned against her. That's probably the biggest emotional tragedy of this entire story. Everything Rack did, whether right or wrong, was always connected to protecting Kanan in her own twisted way. But all those lies eventually destroyed the very relationship she was trying to save. And honestly, I think Season 5 is going to force Rack to finally face the consequences of all her manipulation. Because one thing the trailer keeps hinting at over and over again is trust. Nobody trusts anybody anymore. Every scene feels like somebody's hiding something. Even the conversations between family members feel dangerous now. And in the Power universe, once trust disappears, violence usually follows right behind it. Now let's get into what might be the biggest reveal from the trailer, Breeze. Because yes, it definitely looks like Season 5 is finally preparing to fully introduce him into the story in a major way. And Power fans have been waiting years for this moment. If you watched the original Power, then you already know how important Breeze is to the entire timeline. He's basically the missing link between young Kanan and the criminal empire that eventually creates Ghost and Tommy. And honestly, The trailer makes him feel terrifying already without even revealing too much about him directly. That's actually what makes it so smart. Instead of over-explaining the character, the trailer builds mystery around him. People keep mentioning his name carefully. Characters look nervous during certain conversations. And there's this feeling that his arrival is about to completely shift the balance of power in the streets. Personally, I think Breeze is going to become one of the most dangerous influences Kanan has ever had in his life. Because Rack still represented family, emotion, and protection in some way. But Breeze? He represents the streets completely. No emotional attachment. No family loyalty. Just power, money, survival, and control. And if Kanan starts learning from someone like that while already mentally broken after everything with Rack, then honestly, Season 5 could. And the scary part is that the trailer keeps hinting that everybody around Kanan can see the change happening too. Jukebox especially looks worried again. And honestly, Juke might end up becoming one of the most important characters this season, because she understands Kanan better than almost anyone else. She's one of the only people who sees both sides of him. The emotional side that still wants family, and the darker side slowly taking over him. But the problem is that Kanan may already be too far gone at this point. The trailer constantly gives this feeling that he's emotionally disconnecting from everyone around him. And that's exactly what makes older Kanan so terrifying later in power. He stopped trusting people emotionally. He stopped caring about consequences. And Season 5 looks like the beginning of that emotional death happening in real time. Honestly, there's even a moment in the trailer where Kanan looks almost emotionless during a tense conversation. And that single expression alone might be one of the biggest clues about where this season is heading. Because once Kanan loses that remaining humanity completely, there's no going back anymore. Section 2 starts getting even crazier once you really pay attention to the hidden details inside this trailer, because the more I rewatched it, the more I realized Season 5 might actually be setting up multiple betrayals at the same time. And honestly, that's what makes this first look feel so intense. Nobody feels safe anymore. Every single character looks like they're standing on the edge of complete disaster. Especially Unique. Because let's be real for a second, something about Unique in this trailer feels completely off. Ever since his return, there's been this strange energy around him, like he's no longer thinking emotionally, and is now focused only on survival and revenge. And if there's one thing the Power universe always teaches us, it's that the most dangerous people are usually the calmest ones in the room. Unique barely needs to say anything in the trailer, but somehow his presence alone already feels threatening. It honestly feels like he's watching everything happen quietly, while waiting for the perfect opportunity to take control again. And that could become a massive problem for Rack, because Season 5 looks like the first time where she truly doesn't have control over the streets anymore. Earlier seasons always showed her one step ahead of everyone else. But now, everybody around her is moving differently. Kanan doesn't trust her. Marvin seems distracted by his own issues. Lulu looks emotionally exhausted. And Unique might already be planning something bigger behind the scenes. That's probably why the trailer feels so uncomfortable in certain moments.